All right, you guys, welcome back to my channel. So I did it. I am in Tulsa and I've been here almost a week now. Quick life update. The last time we talked, I was really on the fence and undecided about which apartment to choose. Apartment that I really liked and I had a good feeling about and that I was already approved for, but I was just feeling nervous about. Something happened where the unit that I was originally going to be in was not going to be available. However, they had a different apartment that was available, and that unit just happened to be, it was my grandmother's phone number, like what my grandmother's phone number when I was a kid. So that was a sign, and the digits are well, it's not 444, but it like adds up. If you add them together, it's 444. My completely unscientific but very heartfelt process. Grandmom said, go on, baby, go ahead and move over there and you'll be fine. Meanwhile, Hurricane Beryl hit Houston. I was without power. It was just hell. I'm not even gonna get into all of that. I just decided, okay, I went ahead and I was, doing all the forms and the paperwork that Tulsa Remote was emailing me. I actually was having to like sit in my car to charge my phone and use the Wi-Fi in my car because of the cellular and Wi-Fi and power outages that were happening in Houston. And it just felt like a sign, like multiple people, as well as myself internally, were like, girl, I think this is your sign to go on ahead and do Tulsa Remote. And I definitely agree. Wanted to let you know how things have gone for the first week because it's been quite an experience. Forgive like the chaos. The background is chaotic. Slightly, because if you could see what's in front of me, it's just I mean, this would be a process either way. Previous videos I had already like started packing up my Houston apartment and things like that because I was moving, whether I came to Tulsa or not. But it's just been a whole process. But I am glad to be here and I'm feeling very optimistic and I'm feeling much more reassured now that I've gotten here. Race was the main thing that I was concerned about in Oklahoma. I just saw and read so many negative things. I was really expecting some rednecks to be waiting at the state line with pitchforks. I mean, literally, I thought this would be like a completely backwards, segregated, vile, racist city. And I am happy to report that that has not been my experience so far. More on that later. So let's just talk about sort of the everyday kind of experiences that anyone, regardless of their skin color, sexual orientation, or whatever, will probably have in Tulsa. One of the things that I had seen so much about all over the internet was the driving situation in Tulsa, particularly the roads, that the roadways are really bad and full of potholes and things. And that is absolutely true. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. Potholes, gouges, dips, lumps, bumps, like and it's all in one and all in one small area. Like in a strip of a few feet, you could have a pothole, a crack, a gouge, a dip, a hump, all of this. It's unreal. But I will say it's definitely equal opportunity driving near Utica Square, and there's some beautiful homes over there. Like, I would consider them to be mansions. I don't know if they're mansions by Tulsa standards or not, but the streets over there were rough. They don't discriminate. The richest of neighborhoods or the poorest of poor, the roads are going to be bad in Tulsa. Traffic to me has not been that bad. Now, of course, I'm new here and coming from Houston, so I'm used to being trapped in my apartment, like not being able to leave the house right between certain hours of the day because you're just not going to get anywhere. In Tulsa, I've pretty much, if I punch something into my GPS, and it says it's 15 minutes away, I get there in 15 minutes, no matter what, which is awesome. And I have to say that Tulsans are decent drivers. Like, I'm still shell shocked from Houston. So there are times where I'm like lifting off the gas and like covering my brake or just looking around, like looking and waiting for someone to do something absurd, and it just doesn't happen. I'm sure my blood pressure and my stress levels and everything else are way down. Stress of driving just isn't there. Now, gas prices in Tulsa are definitely higher than in Texas, but I guess that's to be expected. So when I left Houston, the gas price was like $3.10. That was the last fill up that I got on I-45. At that time, the gas prices were higher because of Beryl. The days before Beryl, the gas price in Houston was like $2.80. The gas prices that I've seen in Tulsa have ranged around like $3.10 per gallon to $3.26. Definitely a little increase, but if you're somewhere paying $5 per gallon or something, God, that sounds amazing. So it's just all about perspective. So the next thing would be the people in Tulsa. Again, there's so much on the internet. I just didn't know. I really didn't know what to expect. And I have to say, I'm very pleasantly surprised that people here are very polite and just generally nice. They seem to pretty much like mind their own business. If they're not minding their business, they're just friendly and nice in a very genuine and like easygoing and unintentional way. Like you can tell it's not forced and they're not faking it. People definitely say please and thank you and excuse me and things like that, which I definitely appreciate. And just in my apartment building, I noticed that when I'm pulling into the parking lot, when people walk past or if I'm walking in the hallways, generally people wave and they speak, they say hello. I've seen a couple Reddit posts where people were asking if they needed to have a car. For me and my 1 week of knowledge that I've gained, I would definitely say yes, probably. It depends on where you're living and your lifestyle, right? I will be living in Brookside. It's definitely, in my opinion, walkable in terms of like sidewalks, access to lots of different stores, grocery stores, bars, convenience stores, drugstores, etc., all in a relatively close area, shopping and things like that. Now, the issue would be though, as far as like Ubering and public transportation, if you want to venture outside of your neighborhood, if you are living in a walkable area. I've been over on like the Memorial side. There's a lot of shops and things over there, but it's more of like a highway feel that I definitely wouldn't recommend anyone to try to walk around there. So yeah, I would just say do your research if you're not sure if you want to have a car or not. This is going back to driving a little bit. People do not speed in Tulsa. And I was curious as to why. And of course, everyone slows down or everyone's going slow. I'm not swerving around and speeding past everyone. Thank you very much, because maybe this is a speed trap or cops are hiding out somewhere. And so I wondered if that was the case, if maybe, the police are just really aggressive with speeding tickets, but I haven't seen too many police around. And then I also wondered if people just don't speed because the road, the roads are crazy, y'all. It's giving go-kart, it's giving off-roading in the city. Like maybe people just don't want to destroy their car and that's why they're driving kind of slow. Maybe they're just following the rules, right? And I could dig it. But either way, I would say if you are new in Tulsa, if you are, going back to Houston, I don't think a Houston driver would make it here, a Florida driver, a New York driver, where you floor it every time the light turns green, you're probably going to bend the rim, or that phantom cop that I haven't seen yet is going to come flying out or something, because they don't speed here, in my observation, in a week's time. A big area of concern was about crime and the unhomed population in Tulsa. I read and heard a lot about that prior to moving here. I know some of the comments that I've gotten on my videos so far, other people have mentioned that being a concern for them too. I definitely have seen unhomed people. I haven't explored all around this city yet, but I have been in some areas that people talk about have a high concentration. In terms of safety, I do feel very safe in this neighborhood, in my apartment complex, in my building, in my personal unit. I have not had any strange encounters with the unhomed population or any issues with crime. Of course, it's only been 1 week. My intention, it looks like there are a lot of resources and programs and things like that in the city to help people who are going through those situations. So my objective is to go ahead and get involved and do some volunteering and things like that. Personally concerned about it from a safety standpoint. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a small city, but it is a city, so you just have to be aware and have to be alert and things like that. That being said, I have noticed people with their car windows down. As I've been driving around, I've seen some people with like their doors open and stuff like that. So I don't think, in 2024, I won't be trying out any of those things, but I thought it was very interesting. Up next, the cost of living. You already talked about in previous videos how the rent that I will be paying in Tulsa is significantly less than what I would have paid at a similar property in Houston. As far as groceries and other things like that, everything is very similar to what I was paying in Texas. You know, while each item in my grocery order was about the same price, I ended up paying less, right, because of the difference in sales tax. I had to check a receipt just to be sure I was telling you guys the right thing. Yes, it's 8.25% is the sales tax in Tulsa. I went to Inheritance Juicery and the juice was $8. I know I had seen them as much as like 12, 13, right, in Houston, at least 10, right? So there's little things like that. Going to a restaurant and ordering from the menu, I would say it's just those little slight differences of a couple dollars, where something that I would have expected to be, let's say, like an $18 to $20 menu item in Houston is probably like 15 in Tulsa, something like that, right? So little adjustments, all of those small things do add up though. What about the culture in Tulsa? That was definitely a concern for me. Again, I don't want to keep beating a dead horse here, but you know, the perception or the portrayal of Oklahoma is that it's, you know, the people are very like country and backwards, possibly not well educated. I hope that if anyone is watching this, this does not offend you. Was not my belief at all. But it was what was portrayed about Oklahoma. I have to tell you that that is absolutely untrue. Of course, there are different socioeconomic levels or backgrounds at play here in Tulsa, just like any other city. But, you know, there's definitely a contingency of educated, middle class, upper class, you know, there's definitely money in Tulsa. Hello. Like, it's not this just wretched, impoverished state. Even said that to me, like, there's nothing going on in Oklahoma. That's why they have to pay people to move there. It's really, to me, it's just a question of what you're into and your lifestyle, that there is still an emphasis on farming and fresh food and like organic produce and having a little bit of a slower lifestyle and being more mindful of what you're consuming. Is everyone on that page in Tulsa? No, of course not. But I feel that more strongly that there's a community for that here compared to what I found in Houston. And I searched for it in Houston. I did. I think I went to every yoga class, sound bath, meditation, group vegan meetup, and so on. It is here in Tulsa. If that's what you want, if that's what you're looking for, if you want organic produce and meats and a little better air quality, Tulsa might have that for you. That is my first impression of the culture. I have in the area where I'm living and sort of the places that I've ventured out into, I'm definitely encountering more of like the hipsters, the hippies. People seem healthier here is my perception. Yes, I know, and someone may comment, oh, there's so much like drug use and all of the stuff going on, and there's poverty and things like that. I understand that, and I would even venture to say that the people who are in some of those conditions actually look healthier than people I've seen in other cities facing the same circumstances. I know that may sound a little strange, but it's like the average person, anyone who's like intentionally trying to be healthier looks a little healthier. And even the people who probably are not, that's not a priority to them, will appear healthier as well. Haven't seen everyone, it's only been a week, but that has been my observation as well. I was talking to my other friends and he's like, wow, you know, you're in Oklahoma. What is it like? Like, are you seeing lots of Trump flags and bumper stickers and all that stuff? And I was like, you know what? When I was in Houston, I would just be driving on the highway and you would see like the little Blue Lives Matter and all of those just politicized and Trump stickers and Let's Go Brandon. And I would say like out of every 10 cars, like probably 3 or 4 had something like that on them. Here in Tulsa, I've seen one in a week where I would see one probably like pulling out of my part, you know, as soon as I merged onto the highway, I would see like my first one of 100 for that trip. So I definitely saw more of that in Texas. Whereas here, I was walking yesterday and I saw some people with like some democratic stuff and a Black Lives Matter flag. I saw someone else that had like the LGBT flag on another street. Just be the neighborhood that I'm in, but I've seen, you know, interracial couples, interracial lesbian couple, and they were walking down the street holding hands. And I just had this idea that like Tulsa was a place where some maniacs would pull up in a pickup truck and like harass them, and they were just skipping down the street having the time of their lives, and I love that for them. I did also, as I was driving today, I was at a red light. I don't know the names of every street or every place yet, but I remember just looking to my left and there was this restaurant and it has like the entire wall is glass. And so I saw like just all of these like multicultural friend groups having brunch too. And I've been seeing that throughout the city. And I don't know if that's like a Tulsa Remote factor, but I have been seeing that and that's very encouraging. I definitely, in my time in Houston, all of my friends were Black. Everybody I hung out with. I did have like, you know, some acquaintances or people that I met, but as far as people that I was like close to spending time with, it was all Black people. I don't know how intentional that was, or it just seemed to happen that way, but I'm open to a multicultural friend group. Again, you know, I had this idea about Tulsa that wasn't even a possibility, and that I don't know, I was expected to even be discriminated to not even enter the restaurant, let alone coming with my group of friends of other races. So very cool. Very exciting, very interesting. Back at this in the future, or someone who's been here for a while, you might think this is absurd and silly, but I don't know, if you're researching Tulsa as well, maybe you've gotten that same impression, or you had some of those same fears. So hopefully this can help you. So this whole idea that there is nothing to do in Tulsa. I went to the farmer's market this morning and I had a great time. I loved, you know, like I said, like farmers markets, getting that fresh organic produce and soaps and all of those good things. That is right up my alley. I love it. I had a ball there. If that's not your idea of something you'd love to do on a Saturday morning, that may not be for you. It also has other attractions. Like I passed a water park the other day. So, you know, there's activities, there's things to do. Museums, parks, farmers markets, all of that, art shows, like all of that stuff I know there will be an abundance of. And that's all kind of my jam, you know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to experiencing that, but I'm also going to take my time because apparently, you know, I keep hearing repeatedly from multiple people, they say there's nothing to do in Tulsa. I was asking him, what are some things to do in Tulsa? And he said, oh, well, you know, all of the bars and clubs, they're always open for like a couple weeks and then something happens and they close down. And then we just had that moment, that look like, I'm like, I know what you're talking about, you know, have experienced that in other places or whatever. And he's like, yeah, but mainly I just go to OKC. And I've heard that a lot. So much people saying OKC is the place to go if you want to party or do something, which it's not that far. It's not that far of a drive, I guess, but you know. So let's talk about the Tulsa Remote factor. The mover pulled up yesterday, parks. And, you know, I would say in the first 30 seconds to a minute of our conversation, and he's like, so are you in Tulsa Remote? And I said yes. And he's like, yeah, you know, my company, we've been doing a lot of moves for Tulsa Remote people and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, what makes you think that I was in Tulsa Remote? And he said something very diplomatic as far as, he said something about an accent, like I had an accent, then I didn't sound like I was from here. I was like, oh, okay. And then eventually he eased into the fact that I was Black. And I'm like, yeah, is that interesting? Or there's not a lot of Black people in Tulsa? And he's like, well, you know, we don't make up a huge portion of the population. And he said, you know, you said that you were moving from Houston. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, no one would move from Houston to Tulsa for no reason or something like that. Unless they were, I think he might have even said, unless they were getting paid to do it. So, man, I mean, so many people, I'm like, my friends and family, everyone's got jokes. And even the movers, even the mover who lives in Tulsa is like, what are you doing? Yeah, there's definitely a Tulsa Remote factor where As far as the race or racial tension in Tulsa, I personally have not experienced, I've only been here for a week. I haven't experienced anything. If anything, I feel like I've gotten like weird energy, oddly enough, from other Black people. Unfortunately, I'm probably gonna cut this part out. Yeah, I'll just cut this part out. It's giving get out, but there will be good people. So in terms of the race situation and the race question, do I feel comfortable as a Black woman in Tulsa? Yes, I do. My goal will be to find people of any race, really, who are sort of like-minded and friendly, open, of course. Like, I'm not gonna go out of my way to try to befriend another Black woman who like doesn't like Black people or something. Or, yeah, that is my report of my first week in Tulsa. I definitely hope that this was helpful to someone. If you guys have any questions about my experience so far, be sure to post them. If you are in Tulsa as well and you have something to contribute or another insight, especially if you've been here longer or something like that, definitely let me know. And I will be back, you guys, all along the way to let you know how this goes, more about the Tulsa Remote process and just my experiences here in this peaceful, quiet city. Oh, one more thing. I always do that at the end. I would say that I definitely feel closer to nature here in Tulsa. I haven't visited like the Gathering Place or any parks yet. And something I saw a lot of people complain about is that they said that Oklahoma isn't pretty, or that there's not like, you know, natural wonders or things to look at in Tulsa, right? But to me, you know, on the way here and even in Tulsa itself, there's some hills, there's some really like green spaces, and that to me is very nice. Like, Tulsa is just green. I saw I was sitting with a little balcony and there were like two little bunnies just frolicking and like chasing each other across the street, and birds, like an abundance of birds, and there's lots of just mature trees all around, and it gives you a feeling, just even when I'm driving around, it feels like a sense of, I guess, comfort, stability. Like, you can tell that a lot of the homes have, it's not like Houston. I keep talking about Houston, but that's what's, you know, where I just came from, right? Where they're just like tearing everything down and building up all these apartments and houses everywhere. And they don't care. They're just trying to create all of this crappy, tacky housing. I think Tulsa, it just feels like it has more character. Things have been here longer. Some things are a little grungy, you know what I mean? And that adds character and this sort of suburban feel to the city. All right, y'all. I will be back. Peace.